Okay, there are two sort of main contexts, two strands to my work. The minor one happens to be archaeology, of which I do quite a lot, using symbology from prehistoric standing stones, for example, here in the south of Scotland. And I translate these into small pieces. Although I'm primarily working big minimalist pieces, occasionally I go back to my roots with these small slate pieces, less than a foot square. Okay. Using mainly Easdale slate, same stuff as George Garson used. But my main context is geology. I'm really passionate about geology, the fact that we are all living in this thin crust that is constantly moving. And here are some very old rocks from the north of Scotland. They're 2.5 billion years old. And as I say, the island of Easdale, one of the slate islands, where George Garson first came across the material. There are a number of the islands there, and as a boy I used to visit these places and play in the slate quarries and looking for and at every opportunity I would draw the West Coast landscape. In this case I'm actually making some monoprints of the landscape. That's me back in the 1980s. Not a grey hair in sight, and a bunnet on my head. My holiday snaps are nearly all about the interface between the artificial and the natural. I take a lot of photographs of walls and how they meet with the natural landscape. I'm very much influenced by the likes of Mark Rothko and Ben Nicholson, Joseph Albers, all that sort of minimalist expressionist work, and that's reflected again in holiday snaps. I'm looking for interesting composition and texture and colours. This all feeds into a library inside my head. I don't actually use these to produce an artwork, but it's the Easdale slate. It's my favourite material with its eroding iron pyrites. The iron and sulfur leaches out of the rock and produces these fantastic colours. So it's not just the colour, it's the shapes as well that I use, the different textures. It comes in such a variety of material. I think of my work as groundbreaking. I take bits of the ground and I break it up. This is me in one of the slate quarries. I split it up and cart it off home and cut it up into smaller pieces. Here I am in my little greenhouse. It's now called a grey house because it's just covered in mud. I don't wear that mask anymore. I can't see it. But I use a small tile saw just to saw up the slate into smaller pieces. Then I wash the slate and then I painstakingly arrange it in colours. I had just sat in a wet puddle on the seat. I didn't realise, and the water has just, as the camera took the photograph, the water had just reached my bare bottom, or what's left of it. You know about that, women, don't you? My work from the past few years tends to be very minimal, geologically related, using slate, the natural edge of the slate with the cut edge to represent my feelings, express my feelings about all things geology. Okay, right. The folding of the rocks. The orange slate is slate that's been altered by contact with igneous intrusions, which have baked the slate. And once the slate is baked, the black stuff disappears, and you get these lovely oranges and reds. This is called fault, where the earth has moved, creating a little fault there. and actually creates an optical illusion. It looks as if it's falling over, but it's not. It's quite interesting. It's one you'll have seen if you were at the exhibition last night. I dabbled it with Scottish shale. One advantage of shale is it's very light. So when you're doing big pieces, the shale. It's the same stuff. The red has been burned. It's the black. Red is the same as the black. It's just been burned, and it turns these lovely colours. I tried combining shale with the slate, but it didn't work. I didn't like that. These pieces are all about a metre square. A lot of work in them, but then sometimes that happens. You just do something and it just doesn't work. And I've got a few pieces like that in the studio. I break them up and reuse the slate. Plate tectonics, as I said, the Earth's crust is constantly shifting. We're moving apart from the US by about a centimetre a year. And that is very interesting to me. And I try and represent that through these simple shapes. Some of my latest work is all about the igneous intrusions. And what happens here, the linear space becomes the dominant element in the work. The mosaic itself is just subordinate. It's just there to create these spaces. So it's the space that's actually the important element here. There's another one, subduction, one plate going underneath the other. And finally, this one, I sometimes feel that these pieces are kind of sinister. It's like some myceliae, some malignant myceliae creeping through. But that's where I am at the moment, exploring these linear pieces. Thank you very much.